Welcome to the 17th episode of the Gabriel podcast. Today I have my guest, Marvin Hidalgo. He is a freelance photographer,
hmm
loves anime, games, and studied Japanese at California State University. So,
Long Beach.
Long Beach,
Yep.
California State University. Thank you so much for coming out to the show, Marvin.
Thank you for having me, Gabriel.
How are you today, man?
Oh, been a little bit productive. I did a little bit of chores earlier today before hopping in here, and so far it's been a chill, just another chill Thursday.
That is true.
hmm
I was thinking about it actually. When our last conversation was, and it seems to me I've known you. I think I met you in high school, if that's correct, right?
Um,
I th-
no, you.
no,
I went to Narbonne High School.
what? I really? When was so? When was like what?
Oh man, no, I was okay, in person wise, I'm pretty sure it was in back in campus, back in
That is
CSULB.
so crazy. Because I feel like I met you in high school sometime, but I guess not. That is crazy.
mm,
Oh, maybe so. I did only meet you. So was it through like mutual friends in like that like gaming room setting?
I want to. It might have been the gaming room, or it could have been. I'm throwing this out here, either anime club or no, it can't be. It can't be. It's called Filipino Student Associate, or what was that? Filipino Club. It can't be
Yeah.
that.
That is so fast. It feels like I've known you for so long, but I'm like, I guess not. Like I guess well, I mean, college was like still a long time ago, actually. So
Yeah, yeah. Were you? If I may ask, I'm trying to like jog my memory.
mm.
Were you associated with like anything Japanese, like
Yeah.
JSA,
Well,
or like had you like?
not like a club. It's not a
Uh,
club, but I was like I did take like Japanese classes at Cal State, like Long Beach.
and I might have met you through there then instead. Yeah, probably just through classes.
Okay, yeah, that is so funny because I,
hmm
I was like thinking back, I was like, I don't remember having like long conversations with you, like at all. It was always like kind of like very like quick, brief. Like I knew of your
Yeah.
existence, but
Uh huh.
we never really had got a chance to kind of sit down and like talk, kind of thing.
hmm
Fascinating.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That is funny. That is funny. But okay, so then I guess so we met sometime at California State Long Beach. Um
Yeah.
okay. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, so for me at least my kind of like um what I knew about you was like I knew you liked anime and I knew like you did photos. I always saw you with your camera. uh,
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
definitely you've been with the camera for a long time, and that combination, yeah, that's kind of like what I knew you for. And I would always
hmm
see you kind of like post like on Instagram about like the different like conventions you went to,
Yeah.
and meeting people, and that's kind of my understanding of you. So I definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. Is that correct? Is there missing
For the
there?
most part. Yeah. For the most part. Yeah. Um. Every time there's like a big convention, or like either big or small, I try to like check it out. And if some of my friends are also going, then sure, I'll also like say hi to them.
Hmm.
And if let's see, and of course I have my camera with me. I do like to take photos of cosplayers like passing by through the corridors, be it at AX or just outside of the venue. And like yeah, I'll tell them like, may I get? I'll ask them like nicely, may I get a quick photo? And I'll also tell them afterwards, like, if they have like an Instagram handle or Twitter, I'll
Mm-hmm.
definitely tag them once I get to it, you know. And if they love the photos or like if they see any of my work, I mean, it's potential maybe like if they could, if they will, reach out to me to like take more photos later on, you know.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. So there's a couple of
Yeah.
interesting things that like came out of there. So definitely, the camera seems very like a central part of like uh who you are. So what are your thoughts on like photography? I guess like what are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on that. Well, I guess the bare bones of it is just having fun with like a piece of equipment and just taking photos around. Essentially, you're there to like capture like amazing moments or like amazing people, or like just of course taking basically like capturing memories. That's like, hey, you've took you're at this event, you took a photo of this person, and it looks really nice, and that's like my bare bones just of it. If but if I do want to go deeper into like photography, like it is definitely an art. I'll that I'll like that I'll say. Um, it's definitely an art. It's does take time to I wouldn't say master it, but to be proficient at the very least.
Right. Where did that journey begin for you?
Oh,
Where
oh man.
or like what inspired you, or like what kind of like was the beginning? Did you see it like photos and you were always kind of
Mhm.
interested in pictures kind of thing and photos?
Right, right. Okay, so my backstory with photography. Um, golly. So okay, trying to like rewind here because this
Right.
definitely took back in 2016.
Oh.
So I guess the prelude to my my photography journey. I This was back in AX. I like the years I went to AX. I was always fascinated to like do cosplay. Aside
Mhm.
from just going around the halls, I wanted to like actually dress up, which
Yes.
I did for like a few years. It wasn't really big cosplay or like something like extravagant. I did cosplay as Okabe from Steins Gate.
Oh,
One,
the
yeah,
scientist. Yeah.
yeah, mad scientist. I mean, I think I back then I could do like a good impersonation of like one of his famous lines in English. Yeah,
I
I
love that
could do
show.
that.
Such a
And
funny
then
show.
it's funny, like it's like
Sad as well.
sad. Yeah, and then let's see, I cosplay like a kind of like a general cosplay. This Admiral, because I used to play Contact Collection, which is like a web game, and I was like really into it back in my college years.
Mhm.
But fast forward to 2016, September 2016 was the month I figured, all right, I wanted to pick up photography, and the reason why is because I personally wanted to be more involved with the cosplay community. If I
Mm.
if I can't cosplay, or if cosplay is not for me, I felt that taking photos, taking photos of cosplayers would also get me more involved in the cosplay community.
Oh.
And there was this one event back at that year, Anime California, where I picked up I guess my mom's DSLR, and then figured, all right, I'll just ask for photos around. And from there on, like, I got so fascinated. I've seen other cosplay photographers around, like some of them like doing their work, some of them like doing photo shoots with other cosplayers. It's like, all right, I could definitely like this. Yeah. So
Very.
that's
I love the. I mean, I love it. So it started with your, your interest in the cosplaying, in cosplaying, and then like the cosplaying community. I wanted to be
yeah.
more involved in that. It's interesting.
hmm
So then, how do you think it's evolved? Do you think it's kind of like stayed within that community, or do you think you're just kind of interested in taking photos in general?
that's a good question. I'm definitely more. I'm still more inclined to take cosplay photos for sure, but how it's evolved throughout the years, it's like, yeah, I at one point can't remember, or I don't know what year or when exactly, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to do more than just cosplay. I want to like do more like just casual shoots, like casual fashion, and sometimes I do like do like some hikes, or like when I go out, I guess it's more scenery, or more have a has more like a scenic view. I do a little bit of what's it called uh landscape photos, just
Oh.
because.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been like, yeah, from cosplay, I could do casual fashion shoots, and let's see, what else? I did I want to say I experimented with I guess low lights, or like kind of like city landscape shoots.
Mm-hmm.
And there was yeah, just a little bit. There was a time where I went back to my hometown, San Pedro, parked around downtown San Pedro. Let's see. It was at night too. I was just like doing like long exposure photography, just to take photos of like the light trails, like cars passing by.
Uh
And I was
huh.
like fascinated on that concept too. Yeah,
And it kind of like worked
I,
the first time you tried it.
it worked. It definitely worked.
Ah.
Um, I kind of want to like try like different places to do so again, like different cities, like downtown Long Beach. But of course, it has to be like at night. I don't want to be like out too late, because like some places are really sus, I'll say.
Right. Okay, so what about you called photography an art? Um,
Uh-huh.
so how much of like the what about the technical aspect of photography? Did you kind of expand into that, like because you started out like not knowing much, I'm assuming, and then how
Mhm.
much did that progress in terms of technical ability?
Okay. Um. Well, you're right that when I started, I did not know much at all.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I've never taken any like formal classes for
Mm-hmm.
photography. Everything that I've learned was all self-taught,
Oh.
and like, yeah, all self-taught, and like some pointers, some stuff here and there from my other photography friends. If I may ask, like technical points, as in like composition, or talking about like post process or post editing?
I guess like yeah, the whole spectrum of the photography process. Like I guess like I remembered. I mean I picked up the camera as well. You know, I
Right.
do a little bit of stuff on that, and I remember when I picked it up, I didn't know anything like in terms of like the I didn't know anything about like ISO and
Ah,
exposure
yes, yes, yes.
and all this
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah. All right. So in the beginning of my photography experience,
Mm-hmm.
of course I did not know any of that stuff like beforehand. I had I think I remember having almost everything at like auto settings,
Mhm.
but not touching up on that just yet. I've had my, I guess, cosplayer, or I guess the model, like just do like I asked them to do some poses, like something like simple, and that yeah, something simple, something easy for them to do, and
Mhm.
something that kind of also relates to the character they're cosplaying.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, like posing is one of the, I guess, components for photography. Like
Mhm.
you want to make sure the your models are comfortable. They like whatever pose they're doing, they're comfortable. I want to make them feel relaxed, and from there on, it is a photographer's job to like get a good angle of it, of that pose. Going back to like the camera stuff, like all the little settings. Um, let's see, it wasn't that long until I did meet another friend who also does photography, also in Cal State Long Beach. He taught me a little bit about ISO, um, maybe a little bit about white balance, but also like the aperture setting as well.
Mhm.
Because like it's a quick rundown of it. ISO helps. Let's see, helps the camera like take in light coming in. I know that's also related to what aperture too, but it adjusts like I guess the lighting of the camera. A higher number of an ISO, higher number means it'll look more brighter, but there's more noise. Noise for a camera meaning that it's gonna look grainy. Whereas lower number, there's like lower light, but that's definitely useful if you're outside in a bright sunny day.
Mhm.
And of course, low number, low ISO, it's gonna look less grainy, which is like the goal. You don't want your photos to be looking like grainy or like pixelated.
Mhm.
I guess one other thing that I'll touch up on is aperture. Aperture also does is also influenced by light intake. Again, lower aperture, lower aperture, the more light the camera will get. Higher aperture, the less light. And how I could describe aperture is like kind of like the pupil of the eyes. If your pupil is like big, um, what's it called? It'll of course you'll try to get as much lights in to like see. But if
Mhm.
your pupil is more like dilated, like uh dilated to like a small,
Mhm.
and of course there's too much light. So that's kind of like it's that's kind of how I guess I would describe it.
Right.
It's yeah. To the average Joe though, like that's how I would just kind of like describe it. It does sound like a lot to take in,
Mhm.
but with hands-on experience, it will like uh, it will be much more understandable for sure.
Got it. Got it. What about the post editing process? How is that journey like for
All
you?
right. Okay. Post editing. I hmm. How was that for me? So I know back in 2016,
Mhm.
I did have uh, Adobe Photoshop. I did have Photoshop with me, um, and like that, I just like just played around with it just to what's it called? Just to see how it is instead of like sending back the photos as is. I wanted to like kind of enhance them in a way, like make the colors more, make the colors stand out, or like reduce any like grain, like yeah, reduce any like noise or grain in the photos. And for me, let's see, it definitely took a while to like learn or to like be at least proficient on it. Um, let's see. But then on, later on, I was told that I should also get Lightroom and then use Photoshop. Because I know, yeah. So later down the road, I was able to get Lightroom,
Mm-hmm.
and that was even much more of a help because um, let's see how to explain it. Lightroom and Photoshop go hand in hand. The first one, Lightroom, enhances the, I guess, yeah, it does what it does. It enhances the lights, I guess the brightness, contrast, and sometimes also color of the photo. And then Photoshop. Going to Photoshop, you can add in more effects there. You can also uh, let's see, yeah, you can add in more effects. You can still edit the lights, or I guess the lighting, or the uh, warmth, how cool or how warm your photo would want to look. And let's see, so from that, yeah, so that's how I would describe the post editing, I guess, two programs I'd use.
Mm-hmm.
From let's see, how long it takes to edit depends on what you're trying to, I guess, what you're trying to make, what you're trying to accomplish. If you're just if it's like a basic touch up, I'd say definitely using Lightroom just to enhance the picture, making it a little bit more brighter, eliminating any noise, and adjusting the colors is um, definitely Lightroom can accomplish that. But if you want to add more effects to it or enhance any like effects, Adobe's there to add those in. And I also use Adobe. Adobe Photoshop. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
Adobe Photoshop effects, but I also use that to add in my logo. I've um I've made a handful of my own photography logos and watermarks throughout the years.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
hmm
Hmm.
let's see. So I guess to be more specific with that answer of how long, it could definitely take days. I'll say if there's like a bunch of photos you have in a set. If you want to like do like high like what's it called high quality or like top notch effects, um, or it could just take like a few hours just to um just to like do small touch ups, enhance any lighting, or just small effects as well. It all depends, in my personal opinion.
Okay,
Hmm.
sounds good. Hmm. Okay, interesting. So we talked a little bit on photography,
Yeah.
and we talked a little bit. Um, and then later, I feel like okay, so we want to talk about anime and Japanese. So I want to get a little bit on the where we kind of go back a little bit and trying to figure out the story of Marvin. So um, you mentioned you were originally from San Pedro. Is that correct?
Yeah. My hometown's San Pedro. Um, Still living now in Florence.
Mm-hmm. And um, like how long were you in that area for?
Let's see. I was there. I was living in San Pedro until when I was like 6 years old. So about 2000. Wait, hold on. It's like 95. No, not 6 years old. Actually, not 6 years old. Oh man, I'm trying to like remember here. Let's see. I think it was like around the third grade. Yeah, third grade. I moved from San Pedro to Torrance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And how was that transition? Because that's in the middle of like elementary school, right? So you're
it is.
making a
Yeah.
couple of friends, and that always kind of sucks.
Um, it honest. Well, I guess from my experience, it wasn't too bad. Only
Okay.
because I was able to stick to the same school I was going to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wasn't
Oh.
like my elementary school was part of LAUSD. I know I mentioned that I moved to Torrance, but I was still able to take my classes and stay with my friends in the same school. I didn't have to go
Oh.
to like any
Oh.
unified school.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool. And um, how was your elementary school in general? Do you think, if you had any memories of it?
It was fun. It was like I guess how to explain it. It was definitely fun. Made a lot of friends. Um, I want to say almost all my friends I've met in elementary school. I stuck with them up to like high school.
Ah,
Yeah, but there's only like from that even like a handful of friends that I know like since elementary school. I still keep in touch with them as of today.
oh, that's super cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really nice. When you can keep those connections for a long time, and
Mm.
those things are rare. So super cool to have them.
Yep.
What were you like as a kid? If you remember, were you kind of because you said you met a lot of friends, so were you like you think you
Oh
were
man.
social and
Oh
really?
man. I okay, that's good to point out because I know I made a lot of friends, but I still felt I was like shy. As a kid, I felt like I was like shy to even meet other friends outside of my circle.
Mm.
Like even like progressing through the grades, like progressing through grades, like going to from middle school to high school. Like at the beginning, I was like, I might, I don't know if they'll be friends with me or like, I don't know if I'm gonna be a good first impression. Yeah, that's what I'll say. Although high school, uh, high school me, I guess, were oh man, guess I was more active, so to say,
Hmm.
or at least during my last 2 years in high school, I was more active. The first two, let's see, yeah, so the first 2 years in Narbonne, I was like, of course, um, made some friends here and there, but then I was also into this program. Uh, let's see, I was into this high school program that's kind of like tailored to uh, what's it called? It's like an alternative to PE, general
Hmm.
PE. Have you heard of ROTC?
Yes. The
Were you?
uh-huh.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's like a military program, like to teach high schoolers about the military.
Right.
And growing up, I was a military kid. I am part of a
Mhm.
military family. Yeah. Although I didn't have the experience of like moving from one place to another like all the time. Again, the only move I did mention was from San Pedro to Torrance. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Because like back then, I really wanted to join the military, like my dad,
Hmm.
and my high school Narbonne offered that, but it was under Navy. So I figured, all right, I'll see how this goes. I didn't want to do PE like all 5 days in the week.
Hmm.
The program only had like 3 days of the week for um like kind of like similar to PE, but there's like the other 2 days where it was like one of them is either some drills or like one of them can also be for like uniform, like wearing an actual military uniform. I was really like into it, I'll say. Um, and I think among my class, I was like, I guess one of those students that actually like, yeah, was into it and kind of uh, flew by the ranks pretty quickly.
Ah,
And
interesting.
then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sorry to interrupt,
Oh, no.
but aside from that, was also my start of, I guess, Japanese language.
Right.
Mhm.
I definitely want to get into that, but I want to stick with this RTC really quick. So you did that for 2 years, or did you do that all four of the high
2
school?
years, only 2 years.
Oh, okay. Was there was it only 2 years, or did you stop for like a reason?
Yeah, it was only 2 years, and the main reason why I stopped was to, like, focus more on my, studies.
Okay. Um. Yeah, I do know of RTC because in my high school, like Long Beach Poly, they do have it there too.
Mhm.
And I would always see them kind of like doing their, early in the morning. I would see them kind of doing their stuff over there, and I'm always like,
Yeah.
I mean, it is pretty intense, at least from the look. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like, did you think it was or was it as intense as it looked?
It was definitely as intense as it looked, but I think Long Beach Poly, if I'm not mistaken, yours is tailored to, Army,
Oh,
whereas mine was tailored to the Navy.
okay.
Regardless though, uh, I guess regardless, it does differ in, I guess, training regimen, like different exercises that we do. But all in all, it can be intense. But for me though, I was able to, I guess I was able to withstand it. Plus, I'd say I got more out of it than regular PE.
Right. So you mentioned how the reason why you started it was, you came from a military family and wanted to go, to the army like your dad. Is that correct?
Air Force, yeah,
Air
yeah.
Force. How did that change over the years through high school?
Oh man, not throughout the years of high school, but kind of like middle of college and even beyond college, I'll say.
Okay, so that's
Mhm.
interesting. So the experience at ROTC kind of you mentioned it was like a good experience.
Oh yeah, it definitely was a good experience because it did teach me a lot about leadership, and I guess I'd say it did kind of help me uh, go out of my bubble. You know?
Hmm. Yeah, fascinating. Fascinating. Okay, going back really quickly to when you were a kid, did you have
Hmm.
like a favorite subject growing up? Kind of like how was your
Uh,
view on academics?
math.
You like
I
math?
always thought of myself as like kind of like a math kid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, how to describe it? Yeah, especially with middle school, I did join math counts, which was like program for uh, well, as the name states, it's like a math tailored after school program,
Mm-hmm.
and that's of course where I met more of my friends there. A few of them did go to like other schools, like one of those prestigious schools like CAMS or like Harvard Teacher Prep.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought I mean, I did have fun with it regardless. Yeah, it was like interesting. I guess math training, math problems that we had to solve.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Although, like, of course, years go on, and honestly, it took a 180 when it hits college.
Ah. What happened in college?
Calc 1 happened.
Right. That is so
Yeah.
interesting.
I well, yeah. I couldn't pass Calc 1, or I don't say pass, but I got a D in Calc 1 back in my first year in college, and I
Mhm.
was a computer engineering at the time, and that's grade didn't fly by. So yeah, I know fast forwarding, that's where I had to switch my majors at that point.
Got it. Interesting. What do you think like he found like was so challenging about it? Yeah, I know. I mean, I've taken calc, and
Uh,
it is like it's a completely different like math that from everything that we've kind of done before. It's like everything we've
mm,
done before is in service of it, but it's more of a concept. Like,
it definitely, yeah, it definitely felt more of a concept, like how I say it. It's like, uh, oh man, it's hard to explain. I think
yeah, I mean,
it's hard
yeah.
to explain, but there are theories. That's like more theorizing these concepts, how these numbers work,
hmm
and especially if you take it with like physics, like going with like physics or like engineering. That's where it all, I guess, it all counts. Like measurements and all have to be precise.
hmm
Math theory is a league of its own, which I am not gonna talk about. Yeah.
So did that shock you? That kind of it seems like you consider yourself a math person and high school, I mean, it seems like it went okay. And then you hit calc, and then it was it like a wall, and you just
Yeah.
a shock for you?
Yeah, it was definitely felt like a wall of like it definitely felt like a wall on my journey of points. And I was like, huh, if this is not the way, if this is not my path, then there are other stuff that I could pursue.
So interesting. So you mentioned that was in the service of the computer. Was it you,
Engineering.
computer engineering? How did that come about? Was it like in terms of interest or major?
Yeah, definitely in terms of interest that I wanted to do something with computers
Mm.
as my college career. And like there was like a choice between comp sci and engineering because comp sci was more like programming, whereas engineering is more like hands on. And I did want to be more hands on, like with computers.
Mm.
But of course, Calc 1 was a roadblock for me, so that's kind of didn't go well.
Hmm. Fascinating. What was the
Hmm.
interest in computers? Like, where did that? Did you
Um,
just use computers all the time?
yeah, essentially, I use computers all the time. I did take a basic uh, computer class during my last year in high school, and then I was like more interested in a little bit interest of games or like game development.
Hmm.
You know, I felt like maybe I could try being a game developer, or like because I'll play a lot of these games like throughout my life. You know, video games. Yeah.
Fascinating. Hmm. Okay. Okay. So then I want to transition a little bit into the anime slash Japanese portion of Marvin. Tell me a little bit on that.
Okay, that's a good transition because after my roadblock, I was deciding what to major in next, and so um, I remembered back in high school that I did take 3 years of Japanese language,
Mhm.
At the time, Narbonne offered that as like a secondary language. So, um, me during my college years, to get past my roadblock, I figured I'd switch from computer engineering to Japanese studies, Japanese language. Let's see. I know that it's kind of like bouncing back and forth,
Mhm.
but I did take 3 years of the language back in high school, and to touch up on the anime portion, I was part of the anime club there in high
Mm.
school.
Interesting. What? Why? So, what was the origin story on the Japanese? Why did you take it in high school? Or was it just because of
Okay,
a requirement kind of thing? Or
I mean, not just requirements. I want to. Well, even before high school, I watched a good amount of anime growing
mm.
up. Of course, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, I think a little bit of Digimon, sure. Let's see. I guess Mega Man does count, but then there's also let's see. There's also oh gosh, Zatch Bell and Full Metal Alchemist. I was like
Yes.
all those all the classics growing up, pretty much.
What did you enjoy about it? Like anime, like.
Just I guess the art style, like how it's like so unique to the Western cartoons that we have,
Mhm.
and how well, let's see, yeah, definitely like the art style was very different. Um, in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh, like of course there's like a whole fantasy of card games, and then I guess that's how I also got into the card game itself that we have here.
Mhm.
See, Pokemon was definitely like also one of the classic anime that I've watched, and like of course it's like you're traveling with I guess a pocket monster, like getting these badges, like trying to become number one, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean on the Yu-Gi-Oh part, I loved Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid. I was hooked on Yu-Gi-Oh, like watching it every Saturday. Um
Yeah, yeah,
Cartoons kind of thing.
yeah. Mhm.
It was something like, me and my brother played, and yeah, it's so fascinating because it's like it was different, I guess. Like it's just,
Mhm.
than the regular cartoons. It's like story, like there's a lot, at least for me it seemed like there was like a kind of like a longer story compared to like regular like
Yeah.
than regular cartoons like that spans like seasons
Mhm.
compared
Yeah.
to just like an episode basis on some of these cartoons.
Right, right. Like what's it called? Especially with yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon that still does come to mind. Some like Western cartoons have like stories, like short stories, like that are different each episode. Whereas the story in anime, again, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, it continues on each episode, or like there's like a different arc, different season.
Hmm.
You know, I'd say it does tell a longer story rather than Western cartoons.
Okay, so were you okay, interesting. So then I'm assuming you first got exposed like through like TV,
Yep, TV.
and then you progressed. When did you like realize like, because I didn't know that there was like a Japanese version of the shows that I was watching on TV.
Ah, oh, right, right. Um, trying to remember like my very first experience with like Japanese dub. Well, I know going to what's it called? I think middle school. I know there's like the TV shows like that you see on like weekends. But I found out about like well, cable television. There's like a dedicated like on-demand selection
Hmm.
for anime. Yeah, but at the time it was still, of course, English dub.
Hmm.
Um, so that's where I got, I guess, my more exposure to like more anime outside of like the usual you see on TV. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember my first sub title. I don't know because
Yeah.
I'm like I'm like thinking because it can't. Honestly, it can't be. Man,
Yeah, I know it's a long time ago.
it's difficult. I'll say.
For me, I think it was Naruto. I think I remembered
Okay.
I watched Naruto on the dub on that because I was going
Yep.
like a friend's house. I on that cable
Yeah.
channel, and it's still dub. And then I think I on my own time I wanted to watch it, and then I think
Mm.
I came across the sub version. I was like, I think I was like that was when I was like, wait, what? There's like Japanese. I was like, was this
Yeah.
like? I thought it was like originally English, and then I was like, oh, maybe like they like changed it to a Japanese thing, but then in reality it was
Mm.
reversed. Um,
Right. Right.
right. So interesting. Okay, so then was that the reason you mentioned to why you took Japanese?
Oh, I'm kinda because I loved watching anime growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see. Yeah, I love watching anime growing up, and I really wanted to learn more about Japanese culture.
Oh.
So that's why I took up the language. I took up the class back in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, finding my major in college, I decided, all right, I'll continue it throughout my college career.
That is such a funny story because that sounds very I mean that sounds very similar to my experience with like Japanese, funnily enough. And also like
Hmm.
the reason I mean I took 4 years of Japanese in high school and
Oh, okay.
it was also specifically because I loved anime as well. um
Hey.
so I loved anime. I wanted to learn a little bit more about the language and I thought it was always like such a nice sounding language. And I was like, okay, like
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
that's why I want to take it. So I took 4 years of it. I took a little bit on I took like an AP Japanese course on my final year.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, it was really fun. Like, well, it was fun, but then towards the fourth year, I was starting to realize a little bit like, with all the kanji, like kanji was always my weakest point. Just because there's
Hmm.
so many of
Oh no,
them.
same. Honestly,
I'm like,
there
oh my
is.
god,
Yeah.
and I always hated it when like I came
Hmm.
across like I just hated it so much when like you would try to read like something in Japanese, but then you just come across like a kanji that you just don't know, and you're just like,
Yeah.
man, like it's just a roadblock every single time.
Yeah.
Um, but then okay, so my experience in college was like, I was undeclared, didn't know what to do, so my first 2 years I took
Okay.
Japanese because I was
Uh
like,
huh.
I loved learning Japanese in high school. I want to
Hmm.
continue Japanese, and I did that, and after 2 years, um, you know, I was like, I was still undeclared, and I was just taking my GEs, and I only had Japanese. And so they were like, okay,
Yeah.
so what do you want to do? Like, my counselors, like, you have all this, like, Japanese and Asian studies classes. Like, you know, why don't you be like an Asian studies, like, major kind of thing?
Yeah.
And for me, like, I was like, I was always kind of like a science kid growing up.
Uh huh.
So, I was like, like, I was like, I knew I wanted to be in some sort of science. So then even I was like, okay, like I need to like figure out something for science for me. And so that direction took me into dietetics ultimately. Um,
Oh.
but definitely Asian studies was like the kind of like the main thing that life was pushing me towards.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of like interesting because then it's like seeing you is kind of like what I would have been if I chose that direction. Um,
Right,
kind of
right.
continue on with the job, but for me, um, I even knew then like I was reaching my upper limit with Japanese.
Mm.
I think in the maybe it was the 300 class. I think that it was a 300 class of Japanese
Okay.
where I was just like, okay, this is progressing much further, like much like faster than like
Mm.
my current Japanese kid. Because once we were
Uh-huh.
tasked with writing like an essay in Japanese,
Oh gosh.
um,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's when like my abilities not only like write, but like I think like I'm not sure if it was like timed writing, but it was something like some sort of like exam writing that I was just like, oh yeah,
Okay.
that's my limit. I'm like,
Mhm.
but so fascinating. So you took it and you completed it
I
um
did.
as a
As my
major.
major.
So how was
Yep.
that? Like you were able to keep up with all the material.
More or less, I'll say. I do sympathize with you. I do agree that there are some times where it's like, oh man, like some of these are hard. Like some like writing essays or actually making a PowerPoint or like making a presentation in
Oh yeah.
Japanese, you know? But I mean, for my case, I did stick with my classmates. I got some help, I asked them like here and there, like, if there's any like some concepts from parts of like an assignment I didn't understand. Uh, we pretty much help each other out for the most part in the Japanese classes.
That's super cool, man. Yeah.
Hmm.
At least in my time there, yeah, the
And yeah, I
people.
do agree with.
Hmm.
Oh, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh yeah, no, I was just gonna mention like the kind of the atmosphere of the
Hmm.
Japanese classroom. Like everyone there was like super nice, super polite.
Hmm.
Just very. I just thought
Yeah.
very Japanese. I guess that's why everyone was there. They took in a little bit of Japanese culture. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so that's super cool to hear the support you got for that.
And I'll do agree. Yeah. Kanji. I mean, throughout the years, I've learned. Um, I can recognize a ton. I can kind of write still, at least the basic kanji I could write. Some that are like I guess more advanced. I just need to look at it, maybe for a good like few seconds, then I'll know like the stroke order still.
Yeah.
But aside from kanji, god, honorifics, like keigo.
Oh yeah, that's you have to change every word to its proper form and then add.
Form. Mhm.
Oh, it's like a whole dimension.
It's
And
like
yeah.
it is, yeah. And I'll say, um, like it was actually useful later on because I worked with Japan Airlines for a good time.
Oh.
Most passengers, well, just like a little bit about it. Of course, most of our passengers were Japanese, and of course, we had to cater to customers, and that's where, like, all right, I have my experience, my, I guess knowledge in on a river form or like using Keigo, at least to speak with a few passengers. Some were pretty lenient, like was me okay? Not well. We're not using like honorifics, which is all right. That's like they're pretty chill. But of course, for the most part, it is a Japanese company, and you kind of have to like use as much what's it called uh, honorific form as much as possible.
Right.
But yeah, but I do agree. There are difficult concepts in the Japanese language that like it does take time to get get proficient at.
Right. Can you tell me
Mm.
a little bit more on the airline thing? Like, how did that start?
Well, this was months after graduation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I get a call or I get a message from my uncle saying that, hey, if are you looking for a job? Japan Airlines is hiring. Note, this was not direct hiring. This was like for like kind of like an agency, and they'll
Mm.
put you into airlines based on like experience or I guess interest, so to say. I got hired in this company and took a couple of interviews, but I was able to land a job and I was able to get placed to work with Japan Airlines.
Ah.
Mhm. And let's see. Funny enough, my very first day, I met, or I guess I saw someone who I was familiar with because she also took the same classes I took. Well, almost all the same classes I took for my Japanese class.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, "Oh, surprise! Hello, like hello again." Like I wasn't really expecting to see someone familiar,
So
but
you
of course, like it did help me like calm down my nerves, like being like the new kid on the block, you know.
uh-huh. Yeah. What did you guys have to do there? Mm-hmm.
For me, I was starting off. I helped out passengers coming from Japan, like the arriving passengers, guiding them to the it's called. It's not TSA. We don't call it TSA. I guess passport checks.
Mm.
Guiding them to like where to go for passport check, as well as getting their bags, helping out any passengers who need to get their luggage, and then from there, after a good amount of time, I was trained to like do a ticket counter. How like confirming their seats. If they want to change their seats, we can like try to allocate or like switch people around as much as we can. And that was where most of my honorifics Japanese language came to play.
Um.
Yeah.
So was that whole interaction in Japanese? Like when you were behind?
No, like not entirely in Japanese. Of course, we had other passengers who weren't Japanese natives or Japanese speakers. There were, of course, Americans, people from let's see, all kinds of nations. You know, all kinds of different passports going to Japan or like going to Japan and like transferring over, especially like Filipinos too. There's like a stop um, there in Japan, and they'll transfer over to another flight going to the Philippines.
Gotcha.
Mhm. I've met. I think my cousin said it. Said this to me like the best interactions with people is like strangers. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like you'll learn a little bit about their story, and you'll, I guess, it helps in a way. Well, generally saying, it helps like try to adapt to what kind of person they are, and like trying to adapt to their needs, which is, I guess, was essential for the airline job.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, like, we would avoid as much trouble, as much problematic passengers as possible.
Right. Okay. So you
Yeah,
enjoy that experience in that airport job?
totally. Yeah. Uh-huh. I honestly, I would have like continued on, but of course, with this past, or I guess this current pandemic, well, at the time the whole lockdown started, we've been getting, of course, few flights. We've been getting few flights, and we've been cutting down on employees, cutting down on people. And eventually, April, beginning of April of last year,
Mm-hmm.
was when I got a letter saying that furloughed until further notice.
Oh wow.
They didn't, yeah, with a furlough, you would expect like a return date, but literally the letter said until further notice.
Wow.
Months later in the year, I think September was when they said, yeah, they're like finally cutting me off.
Oh wow.
So I'm like kind of bummed about it at the time, but I was like, yeah. At the same time, though, at the same time, I was like, all right, I'm basically have more time to myself,
I see.
and plus, yeah, and plus, I kind of thought as well, like maybe the airport at the time, uh, I guess it's not a good place to work at the moment because of the whole pandemic, going around.
I see. What do you
Yeah.
think about like I guess future wise in terms of like the Japanese? Do you think it's like you'll still be looking for like careers in it, or like do you think you'll just kind of be
Hmm.
utilizing it like when you can?
That's a good question, honestly. Well, at the moment, I'll utilize it whenever I can.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a chance that I do want to do something like with it, then maybe I'll take it up. I'll take up that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe with a small Japanese company, or I don't know. Like it's, I know it. Yeah, it does kind of what's it called? It's not hard to think about, but
Uh-huh.
it's just like there's still opportunities with it. But at the same time, I guess I can't be rusty about it. I can't be about my, I guess, speaking this the agency that I to. They're looking for people to hire again. And my uncle, same uncle that I mentioned, he said that they will hire me back. But I'm like, could I go back? So should I go back and kind of deal with all, I guess, all that stuff again?
Mm-hmm.
Nah. But like that's something for me. Like I'll eventually decide. Um, yeah. Going back, but to answer your question, I think I mentioned it already. I'll utilize my Japanese skills whenever I can.
Okay. Cool,
Mhm.
cool. Um, let's see. So what are you like doing nowadays after that I guess post like the airport job, and I guess during
Hmm.
COVID, I guess, and I guess we're back in COVID times, I guess.
Um. Okay. Well, I know I did say that I got furloughed.
Mhm.
Well, not furloughed, or like uh, laid off, technically. Um. Another friend hit me up about working at a sushi restaurant, and
Mm.
that's where I kind of use my Japanese speaking skills there too.
Mm-hmm.
At least just for like a few of the staff there. A few of the staff and a few of the customers. Of course, the majority of the restaurant customers were all like English speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're familiar with Sushi West.
I don't actually.
Really? Okay, really. I
Uh
mean, it
huh.
is a sushi restaurant in Long Beach,
Oh.
and it's like on Atlantic and Carson.
Hmm.
Yeah, Atlantic and Carson. Um, so like after the airports, stayed. I worked at that restaurant for a good 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, I used a little bit of my Japanese speaking over there,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, well, it was definitely a different experience than the airport. I'll say, like there's like working food service. I'll say is well, at one part it's daunting, like um, you have to make sure orders are correct. Let's see, you can't keep the customers waiting and all that stuff. Like working cashier. Um, let's see, working cashier. Uh, not cooperating, but collaborating or like making sure the orders are food orders are correct.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, I was like taking stock of inventory,
Mm-hmm.
like making sure things we're stocked up on supplies and whatnot. Uh, Coworkers there are pretty chill though. I'll say that was like it says I'd say it was much more chill than the airports.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened after 6 months?
After 6 months, I was like, yeah. I was like, I just say I'm done. I'll stop at that point. Is like I want to do look for other opportunities, other like places to work at,
Mm-hmm. What was your?
and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll look into like other customer service places because there's a Marriott and a Residence Inn close to where I live now here in Torrance.
Mm-hmm.
I figured, all right, I'll still continue with customer service, but in a more, I guess more formal setting because the Marriott is like hotel or just like something closer, like another place to work at close here. And then I found out this, I guess, this one spot in Delamo. It's uh, it's a game spot or like a board game toy um, toy store in Delamo Mall called the Game Chest.
Uh-huh.
And they were opening up a new store like next door for pets, a pet store.
Uh-huh.
And if I'm not mistaken, they were kind of looking for photographers because they were setting up a mini studio for like pet photography.
Ah.
Uh, so I sent my application and resume to them. I I kind of turned in my 2 weeks, but it was actually more like a 1 month notice to the restaurant saying that, hey, at this day, well, I'll be leaving. You know, so I let's see, I kept in good terms with the restaurant. Told them I'll be leaving at this day, and then I submitted my resume to the pet store called Pet Centric.
Mm-hmm.
And so I basically got the job. I kind of knew someone there that helped me get the job
Okay.
over at the Lamo Mall.
Very nice.
Mhm. So from using my Japanese language skills and going over to my camera photography skills for work.
Right. And
Mhm.
and so is that where you currently work at?
Yes, yeah, yes. Uh, kind of like a cashier at the moment, but hopefully later on this month
Mm-hmm.
we'll begin starts pet photography. Like I've been like it's been nearly more than a month since I've started. I honestly thought it would be like starting immediately,
Uh-huh.
but no, there's like some forms that need to be like filled out or like forms we need to create for the customers and just to make sure things there won't be any problems or like we had to make like price packages as well. So there's like a lot behind the scenes, a lot before we're starting it up. But I am excited to finally use I guess use a camera, use my photography skills at work.
Right. That would be sounds really
Hmm.
cool. Um, Pet photography. Yeah. Because like
Yeah.
I mean pets are just generally damn cute, but
Yeah, they totally are.
fascinating, fascinating. Okay, what about a little bit on so for you Marvin, is there like something that's kind of uh like a dream job or like something where it's like this is me, like this is what I want,
Mhm.
and like if I were like in this, if I were this, then like that is where I'd be most like, you know like me, and like completely like satisfied with it.
Right, right. Man, that is like a good question, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely that the one that will I guess that will hit me at the moment because all the stuff that I talked about with like well, military, Japanese, photography, before of course I wanted to yeah, join the military. I wanted to join the Air Force. But at the moment I've no interest yet. Rather, like I guess my interest has changed. I do want to join, but I feel like there's, I guess, things as a civilian or like stuff that I want to do before I actually join. And my mom's been telling me like, join reserves instead. That too is also an option. Still holding on to that, so like, holding it off.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like some stuff that I want to enjoy before I hit that. If I were to join military, yeah. I know definitely I wanted to um, use my Japanese, and I did minor in IT, so like a little bit of coding. So maybe I was like thinking maybe I'll kind of like use coding and use some of my Japanese at like kind of like a what's it called IT company or like IT service.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then there's photography. Now, I do want to travel for like around. I would love to travel for work, especially,
Mm.
and I would also like to use photography while I travel around. This is interesting. This is also pretty recent, but my the same cousin where he told me like interactions with strangers are like the best interactions out there. The same cousin uh, told me that hey, if you decide to go to continue with the airport, if you become, I guess, what was that one of the air crew or join in like even with like just customer service at the ticketing counter with another airline, you could still travel. He told me this. He could still travel and do photography as a side gig.
Mm.
And that's something I guess I would like to do, you know, travel for work, but then also do photography as my side hustle as well.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the prospect of joining the military, is that like how long of an endeavor is that kind of like a lifelong commitment kind of thing, do you think, or do you think
Mm,
that's like you join it and then you do it for a certain amount of time and then you go back to civilian life, or
it's yes and yes, I'll say. I know my dad did 20 years in the service and he retired after that. You could take that route, or you can just do a certain amount of years and then go back to civilian life. Which, like, honestly, I'm all for it. It's just I'm not. I feel like I'm not ready for that just yet.
right? Fascinating.
Mhm.
Fascinating. Hmm. So, huh. This is like an interesting thing. This military kind of route that you're considering.
Mhm.
Hmm. Right, because like when you're in the military, I mean, a lot of things changes. You know, you're a lot of things change. Like, um, so, hmm, do you think that weight, like, because I'm interested in like psychology, um,
Okay.
and you know, I'm always thinking about like, and my thing has always been like, how do I unlock like people's like help people unlock their potential.
Yeah.
That's always been my thing because I always think like people are so interesting. I think that every single person is so unique and like there's so
Mhm.
much they, you know, if they're put in the right you know, if they can like gather all the things that like would lead to like a good, you know, a relatively good life for them, and like what
Mhm.
could they do, like what, like just thinking about what they could do is like the part that really gets me because it's like you don't know because it's like unlimited,
Yeah.
you know, and so when I look at that, what, well, at least what I'm observing here uh about the military thing, that's an interesting uh that's an interesting concept. Like, how does that weigh on your mind a little bit? Like, because I could definitely see like, you know, if you do come from like you know, a family that has a you know, military background,
Mhm.
that how that could weigh on your, you know, on your mind, but also like, you know, your decision makings. Like,
Yeah.
does that weigh on you a lot? Kind of.
Well, that's mm, in a way, I do think about it. Like, say if I were to, I think to myself, if I were to join now, of course, I'll be leaving a lot of things behind,
Mm-hmm.
or at least I'll leave, like postpone things until I'm either get back or if I'm once I'm done. Of course, if I join, um, well, there's family. That's one thing, you know. Um, like sure, like I'll leave my immediate family behind, but I know for a fact they'll be proud of me once I complete training and then once I'm like officially sworn in the military. Yeah, there's that. There's of course friends and like essentially like I won't be seeing them for a while, but we're kind of already doing that with this whole pandemic situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even aside from that, of course, we'll just like I can like say hi, or, like message them from time to time, see how they're doing. There's also the thing about essentially traveling too, but of course, like transferring from one base to another. Um, I mean, hey, I did mention that traveling, yeah, traveling while I work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, mm, Personally, for me though, it's like I do question like why haven't I started that beforehand? Why haven't I joined already? All I gotta say is just more personal um things that that have kept me from joining. I'll keep it at that.
Right. Okay. Is there a
Hmm.
possibility that, or do you believe that there's a possibility that you'll like never join, and like if you found something that you really like wanted to do instead?
Oh, so if I see what you mean. So yeah, dang, yeah. If I found something else that I really love, that I do want to commit to it, it can be a possibility that what's it called? I might not join, or rather, I might not go in as active, like
Mm-hmm.
active duty. Again, I could still join as a reserve, as a reservist, like Air Force Reserve. Like if they call me, they'll call me when they need me. I'll still get all the training. I'll still get, I guess, yeah, training once a month. I think that's how they do that. If I'm in the reserves, of course I'll still get the uniform. But if they call me, if they need me, then of course, yeah. Um, it's not that I'm. Let's see, man. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it'll still be in the mind. It'll still be in my mind. It'll still
Gosh,
be under consideration. Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
I see. Okay, that's at least there's um it seems like that option is viable as well.
Mhm.
Because like it's interesting. Yeah, I'm always interested in like what is you know I'm always interested in the concept of like a better future, like
Yeah.
imagining a better future for oneself. Because
Mhm.
I think that we're so busy, and sometimes I guess we just don't think about like how our lives could be better. I think that
Mm.
sometimes we kind of get, uh we get comfortable, and like we get used to like our you know our situation, and that's fine if like it really is like you're okay with that. But a lot of the times, like I find that like people are unhappy with where they're at,
Yeah.
from just like their own opinion. Like they're like, oh yeah, I don't like this about my life, they don't like this about my life. But then I find that they like, you know sometimes you have to really sort between like the daily annoyances, and then like
Mhm.
the but the true um the true grievances about one's life that is really like a
Mm.
problem that is creating them like unhappiness, like really unhappy. Because I feel that if they don't do anything about it, and they continue these habits 20, 30 years down the line, because they don't think of it as a problem, then I'm
Mhm.
like, how much of like your life was spent unhappy, like
Oh.
voluntarily, because you
Oh, I
didn't
see.
imagine how life could be better. Like we know how life can is like not is how life is making us feel. Like, but we don't sometimes take the time to be like, okay, how can life be better for me?
I see. So essentially, like kind of like a self evaluation in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, because like I feel that like, you know, life is so interesting because it's like you don't have to be stuck.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Like you don't have to be like you don't have to be where you're at. Like if you've observed yourself and you've taken note of like, okay, this part of my life is not working for me. Like this part of my life is contributing to like a big part of my suffering. Like
Hmm.
so what would life look like if it were better? Like if I took the notion that okay, I have control over certain parts of my life,
Hmm.
how would I arrange my life so that I would be in a better spot, so that I would have less suffering than I do now? And I think that type of conversation, like, leads to transformation.
Hmm.
Basically, where you're suffering, because everyone is suffering to a certain degree. Um, and to start that conversation, to imagine how life could be better, because it starts from there. So that when
Hmm.
you start that imagination process, then you're like, okay, yeah, I agree. I don't like that in my life. I don't like that certain aspect. So then you
Right.
can, work to get your life better so that you suffer less. Because when you
Hmm.
suffer less, the people around you suffer less because now you're in a
Yeah.
better, you can help them more.
Hmm.
And then if you help the people around you, then ultimately they can help the people that, they know better. And ultimately you change your community and then
Uh
you
huh.
change the world.
Yeah.
And it all
Yeah.
starts from you.
Hmm.
Um
Okay.
and so it's, I mean my the whole reason I just bring this up is just because I thought that was a very uh some people kind of yeah, like I said, like they don't have that conversation. So I just wanted to like, peek,
Hmm.
like kind of like poke around a little bit with the military idea about like
Oh.
just how much like, it weighs on you, like, and like um and yeah, but I mean it seems like,
Hmm.
you have a good mind about it, and you're considering different aspects of it, so that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Like, if I were to add, it's like I guess it was my mindset or my thinking at the time when I really wanted to join is that I what's it called? I mean, um, ultimately, I love helping out people. Called I like to help out people whenever I can, however I can, and like military, like joining the Air Force is like uh, a thing where I can try to help out, um, help out people out there in need while serving, while serving the country. I know it does sound patriotic about that, but yeah, it's like essentially uh, my long term goal. I just want to help out people in my own way, you know, whether it be joining military, doing customer service, or just being behind the camera, helping helping out people, cosplayers, uh, get good photos, or rather, getting like capturing their memories of like wearing a certain costume or being at a certain event. You know.
okay. Yeah. um how would you say like um how would you say like how are you like at this current point in like your journey, I guess, through life? Like, um, are you kind of like are you hopeful? Are you pessimistic? Are you
Mm.
about the future, I guess? Like what the future holds for you.
Okay. So for my future, um, I want to say that yeah, I'm still hopeful that I'm know there's opportunities out there. There's more doors opening out there for me. It's just what's it called? It is my decision or like my choice to my journey to find that right door, choose that right one. What's it called? To so that way I could well become a better me, become a better version of myself. And I do have plans. Like the plan, but at the same time, I want to like just uh let's see how what life where life will take me, where it leads me, and hopefully uh I am hopeful and I'm positive that it will lead me to the right direction.
Very nice. Very nice.
Mhm.
You know, one of the well, let me think. So, well, one of the things I like to think about is I like to think of life in rewind. So I'm thinking like there's
Mm,
always that interesting concept of like when you're on your like deathbed at whenever uh whenever that is, like near the end of your life, like you're on your bed and you only have only if
mhm.
few you know only a limited amount of time left, uncertain amount of time left. You look back in your life and like what do you want to be remembered for?
Wow. Hmm. I don't think I've ever been asked this question before.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Yeah,
That's that's really deep cut right there. I'll say.
I agree. I agree. I only like that question because you know once you're at the end of your line, you start to consider what is it that what is important, um what is truly important. I find is when you're at the end of your road and you're looking
Mhm,
back and you're trying to think of like what is it that you want people to remember you by, your family, like your friends, like the people
mhm,
close to you, the people that love you, like what is it like. I find that like people, like typical people's answer is not like the type of car that you have or the type of house that you have.
uh,
I find that that's not really what is most important, to them in terms of like
mhm.
how they want to be remembered by. It's something else. Like,
Yeah, it goes beyond all. I guess. Yeah, it does go beyond owning um, like this, like a nice car or like owning a certain house. Like you said, yeah, it's not. What is that? What is that word? It's
materialistic.
yeah, it goes beyond materialistic things,
Hmm.
and and of course, you want to be remembered by. I'll say, let's see. Generally speaking, people want to be remembered by their actions, like what they have done, what they've contributed to family or community. You know.
Hmm. But what do you want to be remembered by?
All right. Bouncing it back to me. Nice, nice. Well, I mean that. I mean I kind of did answer my the question there. I want to be remembered by what's what I've done, like all the good all the good contributions I've done to friends, families, my community, like all that. However I can. Like I just like what's it called definitely want to be remembered as someone who is hardworking, who isn't called selfish, who isn't uh, well, who can like contribute portion of their time to help out uh, someone, a group of people, a community, like anyway, anyhow.
I see.
And I guess I guess in more specific communities, I guess it's I say this that I don't want to um I don't want I guess a lot of followers or rather like I post up photos of my work. I don't do that to gain followers. I'm there to post up, my work. And if people like it, then they like it. Yeah. I don't like because for me, what am I gonna do with a bunch of followers? That's what's it called? Like the thousands of followers. I what's it called? Essentially, I'm not looking to be like famous, like high up there, famous. Remember me of my of the unique work I put out there.
Right, I'm sorry, you cut off there a little bit towards the end.
Oh, really?
It's a little bit laggy, but I can still understand you most of the time.
Yeah. Okay, okay. Essentially, I'm not looking to be famous. But I do want to be remembered, um, by my unique work amongst my uh small circle of friends.
Yeah.
Uh, is it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, I heard that part.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it is getting a little bit laggy though, but I think that just it might be my connection or something.
I guess. Oh yeah. Let's see. Let me make sure because think that should be good. Or it's like I see it's kind of jumping left and right.
Yeah, it is jumping a little bit, but I think we can try to make do.
Okay. Okay. That's probably the one thing I'm trying to avoid throughout this talk here, like losing connection or like disconnecting or like lag.
Right, it's okay. Most of it was pretty understandable.
All
Um,
right, all right.
yeah, so fascinating, Marvin. Fascinating. At this current juncture with your in your life, it definitely seems like it seems like you're just at the starting point. You're just like at the very, very beginning. And that's really exciting, you know, to kind of see because you have so much to do, like so much left to
Mhm.
to contribute to the communities that you you spoke about there. Um,
Mm.
and I mean, from the work that I've seen already, from the photography that you already have done, I mean, it looks amazing already. Like the memories that you captured, like that's like super cool already.
Mm.
And I'm looking very much to see like all your future work and yeah, about the followers, that's interesting. Um, you know, yeah, I think that I don't know, I like what you're doing. I like what you're doing, and I do
Mm.
hope that like um you get to you get opportunities open and those doors open for you like you were talking about earlier about things in photography, things in travel, so that you can explore those aspects of yourself,
Uh-huh.
properly and fully, and see like, okay, like, is this something like I want to do? And if it is a positive experience, then I hope that you're able to continue that
Definitely, yeah.
or change it, and then see, what, like you said, like see where life takes you, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Now, that is fascinating. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so we went over the photography things. We went over the anime a little bit, with the Japanese portion, and kind of like your life. Also the maybe the influences of the prospect of the military life in there as well. And yeah, I think I'm okay to leave it at
Yeah,
that
yeah.
for the moment. Um, yeah. Can you still hear me, Marvin?
Alright then. Yeah. I mean, okay, yeah, I can still hear you. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on. I think it's like kinda okay, yeah, it's like it's kinda yeah, kinda did lag a little bit, but I can still hear you.
Okay, that's good. That's good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I think that's where I'm gonna leave it off for now.
Okay then.
That's a really interesting, point. It was hilarious that I was wrong, that I thought that we knew each other in high school, because it just seems
Uh-huh.
like I've known you for so long. Like at least I've known you for
Mhm.
like known of your existence for so long. Um, but but yeah, I guess we only did meet at CSULB, but I'm glad we did, because
I'm definitely glad as well, yeah.
yeah, like it's like you said, like one of the reasons why you were one of the people I actually brought the whole concept of like this podcast to.
Mhm.
Um, and when I was just first starting out, and it was because like you were like one of those people, like I really love the just I don't know, like you seemed like a very like community oriented person, just because like I saw you all the time like in the cosplay community.
Uh-huh.
And also like with my friends, like Lovely and John, like and and also like like Jonathan Beltran,
Uh-huh.
and always around like my kind of circle of friends, and also like in the anime Japanese, like very like, a lot of common interests there. But yeah, so you're always so interesting to me, like with the photography, and you know and all that. It spurred a lot of like entrepreneurial like spirit, like at least I noticed that.
Mm.
um
Uh-huh.
you trying to do your own thing, and like doing this whole like photography thing. I was just like, you know what, like I love that, like I love the confidence that and that is like shows, and I wanted to do a little bit on my own thing as well, like, and so I started this
Mhm.
podcast, and yeah, I mean, you were,
Yeah.
like I said, one of the reasons why this podcast exists. Just
Hey.
Yeah, no, like you're super, super interesting person. Super, the work that you do inspired me, to do, yeah, to do this stuff, man. So thank you for like everything that you do, man. You do great.
Hey, I'm glad to hear. I'm really glad to hear, Gabriel. And that's right. Yeah, I think what months ago you did reach out to me about yeah, like you starting your own podcast.
Hmm.
See, we talked a little bit about like I'm trying to find it. So I know it was like hold on. It's like yeah, definitely about equipment, what's to where is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like streaming either up on Twitch or like uploading on YouTube and then having like the whole yeah, hardware especially.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mhm,
Uh huh.
yeah, again, I'm real glad that you did reach out to me uh with your idea. And I'm what's it called? And here we are now. You are yeah, we're having this talk finally.
Yeah, man. I'm happy that we were able to finally like do this. You know, I, I have. It's been an interesting journey through the podcast. Um,
Mm,
it's always a pleasure to talk to whoever's on the other side of the camera, um, or other side of the screen, but I'm happy that I was finally able to get you on here and get a little bit on your story and your journey
aw,
through life, man.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah. So I always say like I would love to, get a follow up video, follow up podcast episode, kind of like see like your progression, from where at this current point in time, to whenever the next time we're able to kind of sit down and talk about like what
Mhm.
happened since the last time we talked, basically. Because I'm sure,
I'm down for it. Yeah.
yeah, man. Like I'm always like, I wanna hear about like, all the conventions, all the new, cosplays you got to take photos for, how that pet
Mhm.
photography went, and you know, um, yeah, maybe about the military, your thoughts on it, how it transformed, like and stuff like that. That'd be super interesting.
Oh yeah. I'd be glad to share um that continuation of my story here on your podcast.
Yeah, man, you're an interesting guy, man. You're
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, like there's a reason why people you know are just like attracted to your presence, your aura. Like there's your desire to help people. I'm sure like people can see that and like can really like and really like that about you. And yeah, and
Mm.
so that's super cool, and I hope that you can find the correct combination of outlets to to complete that goal of
To
yours, to help,
pursue.
yeah, to pursue for other people, or to help other
Yeah.
people.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's cool, man. So how can the viewers find you, Marvin, and your work?
All right. All right. So for for the listeners out there, you can definitely find me on most social media. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Both Instagram and Twitter at Marv MARV underscore HDLG, as well as if you want to, well, that's for my like IRL like daily life stuff. But if you do want to find my work, that's gonna be both Instagram, Twitter. That's gonna Marth 0508. Again, like M as in Mike, Arth 0508.
There you guys go. That's where you're gonna find all of Marvin's photography, where you can find Marvin himself on those social media platforms. All right. Any
Yep.
final thoughts, Marvin,
hmm
before we wrap up the episode here?
I gotta say thank you for having me for your podcast. Uh, really glad that we were able to like sit down, just finally, like you said earlier, finally had like a full conversation, and then um, I, man, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it, and looking forward to, I guess, following it up, or like if you want to touch up on any more parts, more I guess interesting points of my story or my life. Yeah.
100%. I'm glad that you liked it. I think I think I could have definitely touched a lot more on different aspects. And I was looking at the clock. I was like, wow, like the time is flying by, and like I feel like I haven't like covered
Yeah.
like the things all the things. And but yeah, like you said, the prospect of a future episode, it sounds really cool, man. You're a great guest, and I'm sure the viewers enjoyed your story, man.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. So that's my episode here. That'll be the end of the 17th episode of the Gabriel podcast with Marvin Hidalgo here. I hope you guys enjoyed his story, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. So see you guys later. Bye.
See you later.